Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. I'm gonna jump in though. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to another episode of the PR Perspective. I'm your host, Mr. O'Neill, and as usual, whether you tuning in to the live stream or you tuning in to the video that I post on YouTube, I appreciate you taking your time out to tune in with me today. And as usual, we're gonna talk about it. But tonight's episode is entitled "The Attack on Traditional Values and Why We Must Stand Firm." But as usual, tonight we're going to talk about a topic that many people think about and many people talk about in private, but not too many people are willing to talk about it in person. And that's what we do. We have to discuss it. Like I said, we have to discuss it, discuss problems, and discuss solutions. But to get right into it, like over the past several years, me personally, and I know a lot of other people have too, but we watched a dramatic shift in culture. Traditional values or traditional ideas about manhood, womanhood, marriage, family, and relationships are being challenged in a major way, in ways that a lot of us, include myself, have never even seen before. And I've had this discussion with a lot of people. So a lot of people like myself, like we were taught the traditional way, meaning me personally, I know I was taught that we were born either male or female and we live our lives accordingly. I was taught that men grow up and marry women. I was taught that men and women play specific roles in relationships. But today, it's totally different. It's totally different. And some of the differences are today, people are taught that regardless of whether you were born a male or a female, is irrelevant. That basically you have the right to choose whether you live your life as a male or a female, or just about anything else, it seemed like to me, just to be real. But today, people are taught that it's okay for men to marry men, it's okay for women to marry women, or again, just about anything else. You know what I'm saying? That people feel like they can do. Like that's what is being taught today. And believe it or not, it's gotten so far out there that there are even groups of people who are fighting for the right for it to be acceptable for adults to be sexually attracted to kids. It's crazy. Look it up if you don't believe me, but you have people even fighting for those rights. And the thing about all these people are they feel that everyone should accept them for who they are and for what they believe. And like I said, I've always felt like, hey, you have the right to do what you do. It don't bother me. But recently, it seems like the same people who are fighting for rights, that the new rights or the new way of life, it seems like those people are lashing out to the people who stand firm in traditional beliefs and values, like traditional values, traditional families, traditional marriages, traditional gender roles. Now it seems like people that stand on that are coming under attack and being attacked and labeled hateful, ignorant, insecure, intolerant. And it seems like it's coming from the same people who want to be accepted for who they are and be accepted for the things that they believe in. And it is what it is. But like tonight, we're going to talk about it. And as usual, we're going to ask and try to answer some real important questions. And those questions include, is there an attack on traditional values? Do you think it's an attack? Or are people being pressured to abandon their beliefs in order to fit into modern culture? And can people disagree with lifestyles and ideals while still treating other people with dignity and respect? And like I said, man, it's the PR perspective, and we're going to talk about it. Another question, what responsibility do parents have to teach their values to the next generation? Because it's a lot going on. It's a lot going on. But like I said, we're going to have a real conversation as usual. We're going to have a real conversation as usual. What's up, Ben? I see you tapped in, Mr. Legwood. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for tuning in. But before we discuss and get all into it, I want to explain what I mean personally by traditional values. When I say traditional values, I'm talking about things like marriage between a man and a woman, strong fathers in the home, strong mothers in the home, raising children with moral standards, personal responsibility, respect for family, respect for faith, men embracing healthy masculinity or men being men, and women embracing healthy femininity or women being women. And like I said, the lines have gotten blurred these days. The lines have gotten blurred these days. But for generations, these ideas form the foundation of many families and communities. Now, whether you agree with every one of those beliefs or not, millions of people still hold those beliefs, and I'm one of them. But the question is, do those people still have the right to believe what they believe? Do we still have the right to believe what we believe without being attacked for it? And I say we do. I say we do. But the question for the audience, have you ever felt pressured to stay silent about your beliefs because you were afraid of being criticized? I haven't. I've always been outspoken, but I'm always going to be respectful no matter what, because I'm not going to allow myself to be disrespected. So I respect everybody. But like I said, have you ever felt pressure to stay silent about your beliefs because you were afraid of being criticized? Comment yes or no in the comments. Talk to me. Let me know where you stand. But like I said, nowadays, everybody is talking about acceptance. We hear people say, respect my choices, respect my identity, respect my lifestyle. And I believe everyone deserves basic human dignity and respect. I stand on it. I always will. But the question is that I'm asking, does the respect or acceptance work both ways? Does it work both ways? To me, it has to. But can someone say, I respect you as a person, but I don't share your beliefs? Can someone believe in traditional marriage without being called hateful or accused of hating people for what they choose to do? Can someone choose not to date certain people without being attacked for having preferences? Can people disagree and still coexist peacefully? I think we can. But honestly, it's getting more difficult. It's getting more difficult because true freedom isn't forcing everybody to agree on the same things. That's what freedom is all about. And that's why, like I said, I it don't bother me. It don't bother me. Like, if you can be all you can be, you can be whatever you want to be, do that. I'm gonna be me. But just like I said, because I don't agree with it, don't mean I have anything against anybody. And like, it don't bother me. It really don't. But true freedom is allowing people to disagree while respecting each other's rights. Simple as that. But again, I need the feedback. I need y'all to talk to me. Do you believe society is becoming more accepting of different opinions or less accepting? And like, personally, matter of fact, if you believe more, type more in the comments. If you believe less, type less in the comments. But at first, I thought it was. Honest and truly, I thought society was becoming more accepting of the different opinions because, like I said, in my traditional beliefs, I never saw men marrying men. I never saw women marrying women. I never saw, a man that had the rights to choose to be a woman, and vice versa. But in the world that we live in today, I felt like we were becoming more accepting to the differences of opinion because more and more people are doing it. Even states have made it legal for same-sex marriages and everything like that. And like I said, although I don't agree with it, it don't bother me because I feel like you do you, I'm gonna do me. But here lately, I feel like it's becoming less acceptable because I'm seeing so many people being attacked, and it's like I said, it's in the media, it's on social media, and like I said, when I see stuff like this, I really check the comments on different posts and talk to different people just to see where people heads at. Because like I said, I like communicating. I like to see where people head. I really like trying to understand. And more, I see the people that are willing to speak out, like certain posts. I've seen a few posts where the transgender situation was brought up. Transgender women and single men or heterosexual men dating transgender women. And I've seen a few guys who spoke out and said, "Nah, I'm not with that. I'm a traditional woman type man, born a woman." And I've seen these people come under attack and being called transphobic, and hateful and so much like attack, literally attack. And like I'm not feeling that. So in that sense, I'm feeling like the world is becoming less acceptable because these are the same people that are asking us to accept them for who they are. But then why would they feel comfortable attacking, or why do they feel comfortable attacking somebody because somebody doesn't accept it? And that's my thing. Like just like you have the right to do what you want to do, we like regular people who feel to look at stuff in a traditional sense, we have a right to choose to keep doing what we're doing. But like I said, if you feel like it's becoming more accepting or less accepting, type more or less in the comments. Let me know. Let me know. But I don't understand it. But one of the main issues I see is many men are talking about what we talking about today as men is the confusion surrounding masculinity. And I've seen so much, from a few women, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to do the traditional most women, but I've seen quite a few women who have resulted to attacking men, men's masculinity. And I've seen a few women, you know what I'm saying, a few men who attacking women and saying women are acting masculine, and but it's like I've seen women so far as to if a man didn't agree with them, or if a man expressed himself when a woman expressed something to him, I've seen men called sassy, men called feminine. And it's the thing about it, like as a man, like I said, I deal with more women. I'm a man. I'm not singling women out, but I really don't deal with that many men. And most of the men that I deal with, they're on the same page. We on the same page. Like minds think alike. But as men, I've never had a problem with a woman having an opinion or having a type or having a choice. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, as a man, I've been too short. I've been too dark skinned. And I've never had a problem with that because I know that's a choice. That's a preference. But today I've seen men who have expressed their choices and expressed their preference, and oh, he must be gay. Oh, that he's giving off feminine energy. And like that amazes me. I can't understand that for the world. I've even had quite a few women who simply on the strength of a man not liking them, result to the negativity and insinuating stuff and calling the man out his name. But many young men today are receiving these same mixed messages. Many of these young men are receiving. They told these days to be strong. Men are supposed to be strong, but not too strong. They are told that men are supposed to be confident, but not too confident. Because if you're too confident, they'll label you a narcissist or some crazy stuff like that. Men are told to lead, but don't lead too much because then you're being controlling. Same thing with protection. Like, protect us, but don't appear too masculine or don't be controlling. And as a result of that, in talking to a lot of these brothers when it comes to women, many of these young men are confused about who they are actually supposed to be. And that's crazy. But in that same breath, fatherlessness remains a major problem in many communities. Crime, poverty, violence, poor educational outcomes, instability, and all of that increases when fathers are not present. All of that increases when fathers are not present. But like I said, so many brothers are getting attacked. And it's a fight. It seems like in a lot of cases, it's a fight to keep brothers away and to keep brothers out. And like I said, I understand the women who feel like they don't need a man, but our kids do, regardless of what, regardless of whether you need a man or not. Like 9 times out of 10, kids, both girls and boys, need positive male figures in their life to balance it out. So instead of attacking masculinity, perhaps we should be asking, what does healthy masculinity look like? Because we have to know what it looks like in order to instill it in our young men and in order to show these young ladies, what it really looks like. What it really looks like. Hey, Mama Joanne, like for real though, like the times change, but like I said, I still have my beliefs. I'm riding with my beliefs. I don't hate nobody else's beliefs. I don't have anything against what nobody else believes. But like I said, it seemed like the guys, the old school people, the beliefs being attacked. And like I said, we need to figure out what does responsible manhood look like. How do we raise boys to become responsible young men? Because y'all have to understand, these young ladies are going to be looking to these young men. So we have to figure it out. And as crazy as it may sound, it's not as much now, but let's be honest. Parents have always played the primary role in teaching values. And like you said, there's so many distractions nowadays, but parents have been responsible for teaching values. Every family has beliefs. Some families teach faith. Some teach secular values. Some teach traditional views on relationships. Others teach progressive views. The important question is, who should have the primary responsibility for teaching our children? Is it the parents? I believe so. But let's be realistic. Some people believe the school should be teaching them. Social media is teaching a lot of them. Celebrities on TV, with these reality TV shows and this rap music and everything that's going on, technology. A lot of people learning from this technology, but if parents don't intentionally teach their values, then I'm going to tell you, somebody else will. As parents, if we don't intentionally teach our kids the same values that we hold, somebody going to teach them that. Somebody going to teach them. And I guarantee you, with everything going on, like I said, with everything they putting in schools, crazy as it may sound, I was watching Sesame Street with my granddaughter. And it's like Sesame Street is already on same-sex marriages. They doing it up. So, like I said, I believe it's my duty as a parent, as a grandparent. We have to teach strong because anything that we missing, they picking it up. They picking it up. But the next generation is being shaped every single day, whether we doing it or not. But the real question is by who? Who's doing the shaping? Who is doing the shaping? Let me know. Let me know. First, the men have to be healed from their hurt. That's everybody, but most definitely. And but just like I said, aside from the hurt, like some men just weren't taught. Some men weren't taught, and that has a major role to do with it too. That has a major role to do with it too. But like I said, people deal with stuff in different ways. But like I said, I understand some of these dudes just weren't taught, and then some of these guys just ain't took the time to learn. Like I said, I was blessed. I had male influences in my life, but I know a lot of guys that was influenced by the wrong men. You know what I'm saying? And like, but like the question is, like I said, who has the greatest influence over our children today? Is it the parents? Is it schools? Is it social media? Or is it entertainment? And talk to me. Put your comments, you know what I'm saying? And put your answers in the comments. The women have to be healed from their hurt. Teaching starts at home. Both parents need to sit down and teach their children right from wrong and listen to your children. Amen. Amen. I agree 1,000%, Miss Jacqueline. I agree 1,000%. I agree 1,000%. But like I said, like she said, like I said, everybody as parents, it's our duty to teach. And but it's also our duty to live in our beliefs and live within those standards, not just talking about it. And that's where a lot of us get it twisted. But standing firm in your beliefs, it don't require you to hate nobody. It don't require hatred. You can disagree without disrespecting people. And like I said, that's, you know what I'm saying, the thing that is on today. But you can defend traditional values without attacking somebody else's values or attacking other individuals. And you can teach your children what you believe without mistreating others, because that's where we, get it twisted at. That's where we get it twisted at. You know what I'm saying? And like I know as a man, it starts with me. I have sons. So I've intentionally shown my sons that I don't have to argue with women. I don't have to call them out of their names. I don't have to put my hands on them. And no matter what they choose to do or not to do, I can still respect them. And that's like, as men, that's number one. But strength is not found in screaming. Strength is not found in conviction. And the challenge for traditional minded people today is learning how to stand firm while remaining respectful in everything we do. Because if you abandon your values every time culture changes, then your values were never really values. That's what I call opinions. If your values change with the times, those are not really values. Those are considered opinions. And like, we all have opinions. But like they said, on any level, whether it's the new age lifestyle, the old age, man or woman, respect goes both ways. Respect goes both ways. People should be free to live according to their beliefs, and people should be free to peacefully disagree. Simple as that. That's the problem. The men and the women have to be willing to learn. Most definitely. Most definitely. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. And like I said, I'm still learning. I'm still learning to be a better me. And that, like I said, that's why it's so easy for people to be misled. That's why it's so easily for your opinions to change and these people value to change, because a lot of us had no foundation. a lot of us had no foundation. We didn't have the men in our lives to teach us how to be real men. We saw abusive men. We saw, men who treated women bad, men who didn't raise their kids, men who weren't in their kids' life. But I'm gonna tell you this, like I said, it takes a special person because people say hurt people hurt people, and I don't agree with that. Like I said, I don't. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm not getting into the mental aspect of it, but I say as a man, I had to deal with a lot of stuff. I had to deal with watching my mother in an abusive relationship. And as a young man who was taught to be a protector of women, when I saw my mother in an abusive relationship, I could never see myself abusing a woman because I know how it made me feel to see my mother like that. And like I had situations where my father wasn't in my life. And I know how that made me feel as a young man. So I could never put my kids through that. Like, that's just common sense. And like I said, I'm not perfect by a long shot. Like I tell people openly, I went to prison. I did stuff to go to prison to be taken away from my kids. But never have I been free, or never have I been free in society that I wasn't around my kids. Because I knew how it felt when my dad wasn't in my life. So regardless of what, my kids' mothers may have done or may not have done, they couldn't keep me from seeing my kids. So, like I said, I don't agree with that, hurt people. Because like I said, that shows, like she was saying earlier, the mental issues that a lot of men are dealing with, because that had to be some mental stuff. To not understand that if you were in that same situation as a kid, how could you do that to a woman? How could you do that to your kids? But like I say, as a man with traditional values, I believe in the idea that, and a lot of people don't, but I still believe in the idea that a man is the head of the family and his wife or woman should be his partner. In order for a man to be a qualified leader, I believe personally that he should be led by God and know his purpose before he can even qualify as a leader. He has to have that relationship with God and understand what his purpose is in life. And in the sense, that man should come with a specific set of qualities and characteristics. And I want to go over those. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of men don't know it. A lot of men don't understand it. But I want to go over some of those qualities and characteristics and explain what I mean by them. But number one, as a man, first, before you can be a leader, before you can be a husband, before you can be a father, you have to have discipline. And discipline is the ability to control your thoughts, your emotions, your behaviors, your desires, and your actions in order to consistently do what is right and what is necessary, regardless of feelings, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of distractions, whatever. You have to have the discipline to do right because it's the right thing to do. Like they say, even when nobody's looking. But a disciplined man does not allow society, peer pressure, emotions, temporary desires to determine his beliefs, values, or actions. He remains committed to his principles and responsibilities, even when it's unpopular or difficult. Meaning, a disciplined man, a lot of women say, well, a man wouldn't hurt a woman if he cared about her. That's not always true because a man had to do what's right, even if that hurts you at the time. And it's not meaning he's meaning to hurt you, but it means in certain situations, he's going to do stuff that you don't agree with. But if it's right, he had to do it. He has to. But accountability. A man had to be accountable, meaning a man had to take ownership of his own actions, his own decisions, his own successes, failures, and the consequences, without blaming others or making excuses. It is what it is. But an accountable man accepts responsibility for the direction of his life, the direction of his family, and his personal choices. He acknowledges his mistakes, he learns from them, and seeks improvement rather than shifting blame to society, to a woman, to the government, or to other people. It's called being a man, accountability. The next characteristic is leadership. In order to be a leader, you got to have the leadership qualities. And by leadership, I mean to positively influence, guide, and inspire others toward productive goals through his example, through his wisdom, through his service, and through responsibility. A leader sets the standard for his family and his community. He does not simply complain about cultural problems or become part of this. He becomes a part of the solution by modeling the values and the behaviors he wants his future kids and other people, generations to adopt. He carries himself as such. Kids got to see it. If you talk about it and they're not seeing it, they can't see it in you, they can't see you living it every day. It's just talk. We done been there. We done been there. You have to put God first in everything you do. Social media got them now. It's different out here. Everybody. Hey, for real, cool. For real, baby. You know we came through the mud, man. You know we came through the mud. We didn't have the best role models, man, but we had to figure it out. For real. Like I said, and like I said, as the dudes who had to figure it out, it's on us, man, to help these youngsters because we understand what these youngsters going through. And just like I said, it's way worse out here, man. Like we used to think we had to deal with crack in the hood, our parents, turning to crack, everything like that. But like I said, man, society has came with something whole different, man, with all this new age stuff. But another quality that comes with being a man is protecting your family, man. The commitment to safeguard the physical, emotional, mental, financial, and spiritual well-being of your family, man, because we under attack. Everybody is under attack. Everybody is under attack. So it's up to us as men to protect fully, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. For real. It's like, and like I said, a lot of us as men haven't learned to do that. It took me, learning the hard way to get to the point. It took me studying. It took me going to counseling myself, getting the help I needed, and constantly learning. It took me to get to a point where I'm comfortable now doing that. But like I said, we getting attacked from so many different directions that we have to keep maintaining. We have to keep pushing and maintaining. Protecting family means being aware of the influences that may affect your family, may affect your family's values, may affect your family's stability, the safety, and the future. It involves creating an environment where family members can grow, thrive, and feel secure while teaching principles that prepare them for life challenges. But again, you have to have the women who understand that. We have to choose the women who understand that because no matter what we do, think about it, no matter what we do as men, every time our mates leave out, every time our kids leave out, they under attack. They under attack. They giving something different now. They being fed something totally different than what we're trying to give them at the house. So it's like that's the killer part with that. We can't protect at all times, but we have to instill those values, and we have to, protect as much as we can, and do a lot of praying, and do a whole lot of praying, for real, for real. Man, I thank y'all for the comments, man. Men have to be willing to get help when needed, such as some type of amen. Like I said, I had to go there. And like I said, to anybody that watched this show, I talk about that regularly. It's okay. It's cool to get help. It's cool to get help. I got help. And I would recommend it to anybody. But again, as men, we have to provide value. Contributing meaningful skills, knowledge, resources, support, and service that improve the lives of others and strengthen relationships, families, and communities. Now, it's got, like I said earlier, it's got to the point where when you say contribute, everybody, you know what I'm saying, thinks it's all about the finances. Yes, it takes money to pay the bills. It takes money to live. It takes money to do all that. But men have to recognize like there's so many other ways that you can contribute. You know what I'm saying? So many other ways. Skills, knowledge to the people, you know what I'm saying, the kids and the women who want to learn. Teach them, be able to teach them some skills, be able to, teach them something that they don't know. Be able to provide other resources. Be support, be of service, but be able to do something that can improve the lives of your wife or your mate, your kids, people in your community, everything. Because it's needed so much nowadays. It's so much needed nowadays. But a valuable man focuses on what he can contribute rather than what he can take. And just like I tell people all the time, I've discussed before, as a man, I'm comfortable with the question of what I bring to the table because I know what I bring. And I'm comfortable asking that question because you got to be bringing something to the table to build. So to the people that I see who don't like asking that question or don't like, being asked that question, you're not ready to build. But he develops himself so that he can positively impact his family, his workplace, his church, his neighborhood, and his community. And like I said, now more so than ever. Man. Now more so than ever. Because it's needed. Men have to be taught to not show the feelings. Now, like I said, I don't believe that. That's what they tell us, like we're not supposed to have feelings. But we do. We do. And like everybody has feelings. So I believe a person has to know how to express his feelings. You can't let your feelings control you. You can't, let your feelings, allow your feelings to control your actions. But everybody has feelings. I teach my son. He goes through it. He has to be able to talk through his feelings. He has to be able to control his feelings. But that's like, saying, oh, men don't cry, men don't do this. I've cried as a man to keep from going out there doing something that would have took me, gave me a life in prison, or took me away from my kids, took me away from my family. I've had to cry as a man to keep going out there doing something crazy. So it's not that, what I'm saying, we can't show our feelings. We have to learn how to control. And like you said, that's what we were taught. And that's just not true. We have to learn how to control it. We have to learn how to verbalize it. And then we have to be dealing with women who understand that when we do verbalize it to them, not to use it against us. So it's a lot within that. But again, a man has to have integrity because consistently adhering to moral principles and doing what is right, honest, and ethical, even when nobody is watching. That's the hardest part. Like I've always told people, when you have a relationship with God, God see everything. So regardless of what the woman see, if you're a real man and you believe in God, God see everything. God see everything, and you will be judged by God, regardless of what the next person thinks. But integrity means standing firm in your beliefs while treating others with dignity and respect. It means refusing to compromise your values simply because they are unpopular or because you face criticism for holding on to them. It's simple as that. But again, a man has to have emotional maturity. Emotional maturity is the ability to recognize, understand, manage, and appropriately express emotions while making rational and responsible decisions. You can't let your feelings, your emotions. And like I said, I've been misunderstood when I tell people I don't deal in feelings. I deal in facts. Because feelings change. Facts never do. But an emotionally mature man does not react to disagreements with anger, insults, or hostility. That's what we have to teach our young men. That's what so many of them don't understand this now. That's why so many are bothered with the self-hate. Picking up a gun when it's a disagreement, picking up a gun when it's a misunderstanding. But a man can discuss difficult issues, defend his beliefs, handle criticism, and engage with people who disagree with him without losing self control or without abandoning respect for those other people. It is what it is. We have to learn, and we have to teach our young men. We have to teach our young men. But man, I thank y'all so much for tuning in with me. But I appreciate this. Y'all giving me some great feedback and everything. But tonight's conversation wasn't about attacking anybody. Like I said, that's not what I do. It was about defending the right to hold traditional beliefs without being silenced. That's what it was really about. Like whether you're a person of faith, a parent, a community leader, or simply someone who believes in traditional relationships and family values. Now is the time to be intentional, man, because I truly believe those values are under attack. I truly believe the traditional family is under attack. And like I said, we are our own worst enemies. We are our own worst enemy in a lot of these situations. But teach your children, support your family, strengthen your communities, live your values. Live your values loud and proud. And it don't mean hating on nobody else. It don't mean putting nobody else down for what they choose to do. But do you and be you intentionally. Because every generation passes something on to the next. The question is, what are we passing down? What are we passing to the next generation? Because I know what they pass, and I don't agree with it. But anyway, thank everybody for joining me tonight. I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody's feedback. And like I said, whether you're watching the live stream or whether you're watching the replay that I post on YouTube, I appreciate y'all tuning in. This is the PR Perspective. I'm Mr. O'Neill. And if you found value in tonight's discussion, please like, share, subscribe, and invite somebody else to join the conversation. But until next week, I want everybody to stay focused, stay strong, and keep doing your part to build a better future. Peace out. Y'all take care. Have a great weekend.